welcome to Caesar's Snack Sandwich. Today we're going to take a look at crvUSD, Curve's stablecoin. Okay. Now before I get into this, I do have a flowchart for you, and but I will caveat this with this. This was a pretty hard one for me to understand because one, the docs is not very clear. It doesn't really explain things. It leaves a lot of things as questions, and I'll highlight those as I explain that. This is a part where I've taken a liberty and I've kind of guessed what's happening here. Okay. Now the other thing is the white paper is a good read as well. However, it's very math heavy and it uses mostly math to explain the concepts as opposed to explicit simplified English. So I'm going to do my best to try to explain how this thing works and kind of show you what I understand this to be. But consider that I could be wrong, and as always, go and read the docs yourself, and if you have further questions, head over to their Discord and ask them on their Discord for further clarification on the ideas. So let's swing over to the flowchart. If you would like to support the channel, I would suggest you to check out the secretsandwich.xyz. It's the Secret Sandwich NFT project. You can come here, you can mint an NFT, or you can come and check out your NFTs. Okay, so let's get back to it. Okay, so here we are on the flowchart. We have Dollar Bill, and he has some assets. He wants to use them as collateral to borrow this crvUSD. So here are the assets that are currently live. There's WST ETH, WBTC, ETH, and Frax staked ETH. Okay. So in this example, he's going to use Frax staked ETH to open this position. So he heads over there and he deposits his assets and he borrows. In this case, he's going to borrow the maximum. Okay. So I don't know exactly how this number is calculated. There's nowhere in the docs that says exactly you can borrow this much of your collateral, right? I kind of played around with the front end and I did a little bit of mental math and I kind of came up with this number. So for every $1 worth of collateral, the front end was saying I could borrow about 85 cents worth of crvUSD, okay? But that's going to put you right at the point where you're starting to get liquidated. So obviously you don't want to max borrow, but that's kind of what the front end was telling me I could max borrow, okay? So it might be, it might be less, it might be a little bit more, but anyhow, that's a rough number. You can kind of go with that, okay? Now, what makes this very different is how this collateral is put up, okay? How this collateral is stored in this protocol is very different than most stablecoins, okay? So let's say in this case he's got 4 Frax staked ETH and he uses it to borrow some crvUSD, and let's say he max borrows, okay? Let's pretend that the current price of Frax staked ETH is $1,000. Then his collateral is stuck in these different ranges, okay? So let's say one is put in between $1,000 and $900. One is put in between $900 and $800, and one and down, okay? Now these, when they're put in here, they're put in there as if they are liquidity pools trading versus crvUSD. So you can consider this a liquidity pool of Frax staked ETH, crvUSD on the other side. However, there's no crvUSD in here because the price is currently at the top of the range or above. If the price is above or at the top of the range, then it's all in one asset, just like Uniswap version 3, right? So let's say the price goes down to 950, which is below the top range here. Then immediately his position gets locked. He cannot add collateral and he cannot withdraw his collateral. His position's locked. The only way he can manage this position is either he self-liquidates it or he repays his debt. Okay, so that's important. Now, how does this liquidation work? Now, in the white paper and in the docs, it says his collateral will be converted to crvUSD. It doesn't say who does the conversion. So because these are liquidity pools, I've taken the liberty to guess that somebody, anyone, is going to come with crvUSD and buy his collateral off him, okay, through this liquidity pool, right? Now, these people need to be incentivized to do it. So I've taken another liberty and I've just guessed some numbers to kind of illustrate my logic here. And that is that if he has $900 worth of crvUSD, then he can buy his one staked Frax staked ETH. He can buy that one ETH, right, at $950 of value, okay? And then he can sell it. So he can make money through liquidating this person's position, through this liquidity pool. The liquidity pool is already there. He doesn't have to take it to another liquidity pool. The liquidity pool is right here. So he can take that, and then he can take this staked Frax ETH and do what it as he pleases. He could sell it on another. He could hodl it. He could even sell it back through this pool, right? So this is a guess, like this 950 and this $900. These are just numbers I'm just making up. It might be much tighter than what these two numbers that I'm showing in this case, but it kind of illustrates the idea that, you know, this person's going to get a discount on his his staked Frax ETH, or his Frax staked ETH. Okay. Now, there is another pool. Like, where's this CRV going to come from? There are all these other pools already created on Curve. There's a CRV USD USDC, CRV USD USDT. There's one with meme. There's one with TUSD. There's a whole bunch of pools already created with this Frax stablecoin, or this Curve stablecoin here. Okay, so the person could buy this from this pool, use this, you know, get $900 through this pool, use that to liquidate him, and take this Frax ETH somewhere else and sell it for whatever money, and kind of make this arbitrage through here. Okay, now they call this a soft liquidation. Now it's very important because this is a liquidity pool. This can be traded both ways. Okay, and where this comes into play is, let's say the price of Frax stake ETH recovers and goes above 1,000, or right to 1,000 or something like that. Then someone can come back through and buy that $900 that was put in here. Now, this is kind of where I'm taking another liberty. Okay, so he will definitely lose. I have no question in my mind that he's going to lose some of his collateral, but some of his collateral will be returned if the price recovers. So it's kind of like providing liquidity to these two tokens, and kind of getting some loss in some tradings. But remember, he has this CRV USD that he originally minted, and he's taken that elsewhere. So he's levered up already, and he's taken that somewhere else and used it how he pleases, whether he's yield farming with it, or he bought a car, or whatever he's doing with this CRV USD that he has already. Okay, so there will be some loss to his collateral, but if the price recovers, he will gain back his collateral. And then if the price goes parabolic, right, to $2,000, $3,000, then he will have at least, you know, 3.9 Frax stake ETH sitting in this. So when he repays it, he will get all that money back. So this is why they're calling it soft liquidations. Okay, now there is the talk of a hard liquidation, but it doesn't clearly describe the hard liquidation. It just kind of says if it gets terrible, if your health factor gets really bad, you're going to get hard liquidated and your position will be closed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to assume if the price goes down below 600, let's say to 550, then the entire position just get closed. Everything gets sold, and then the position just get closed because it's too hard to recover or something like that. Or maybe if it sits below 600 for some amount of time, then it will get hard liquidated. I don't know how the hard liquidation works, and the documentation doesn't clearly describe it. Okay. Now, there's another key interesting thing. It's called the borrow rate. Okay, so whenever you borrow a stablecoin, there's very few of them that are interest free, but most of them you need to pay an interest, right? So whenever the borrowing rate is currently around 7 or 7.5% or something like that, and the borrow rate falls when people are getting soft liquidated. So when people's positions are getting locked, then the borrow rate falls. Now, it took me a while to kind of really solidify why this is, because it was like counterintuitive to me, right? Like, why would it fall? It should rise. And my understanding is as follows. Okay, so as the borrow rate falls, right, then more people are likely to borrow and start selling. Right, dump the stable coin. Okay, so dump the stable coin through, or however means they plan on dumping it. And the more they dump, then the more effect this peg is going to get. Okay, so let's talk about this peg. And remember, if this dollar is going down, if it's worth 90 cents, then it's cheaper for people to buy it and soft liquidate people. Okay, so that's pretty important, I think. So the rate going down encourages people to borrow and dump, which lowers the price of crvUSD, which then encourages people to buy and soft liquidate the people who need to be soft liquidated. Okay, now let's talk about the peg maintenance. Okay, the peg maintenance is a pretty common thing now. It's kind of like, I think Frax, Alchemex, and a whole bunch of other protocols that use stablecoin kind of do this now. Okay, and if the price of crvUSD goes above peg, right? So in that case, something like there's more USDC in here than there is crvUSD. Then the protocol itself will just mint up some crvUSD and put it in here and return it back to 50-50, thus returning it to $1 in this liquidity pool. Now, it's never going into circulation because it's sitting in there, right? And then if somebody wants to take that CRV out of here, they need to come in with USDC. So they're going basically some CRV USD in circulation is backed by USDC, and some is backed by Tether, and some is backed by these assets over here, the ones that are minted. Okay, so it goes in here, and then it kind of like it can keep the peg down through this mechanism. Now let's say the opposite happens, right? So let's say they've done this already, and then let's say the price is at like 90 cents or something because there's like more crvUSD in here than there is USDC. Then the opposite will happen. They will pull out the AMO. The AMO will pull out the CRV that they can, and they will burn it. Okay, so they just pull it out and burn it and regain the 50-50 ratio of tokens inside this specific pool. Okay, so that's pretty much how I understand this. I hope this has been interesting and useful. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.